In a small, remote village in West Africa, a young boy named Kofi faced the harshness of life from a tender age. His parents, once hopeful for a better future, had both fallen ill. With no money for treatment, they slowly wasted away and died, leaving Kofi an orphan.
Kindly subscribe to our channel Chukwudi Alolar Studio at Chukwudi Alolar and turn on the notification bell to enable you to be notified of our subsequent stories. Thank you for subscribing. Now, let us proceed.
The village watched with cold indifference as Kofi mourned beside his parents' graves, his cries echoing through the dusty landscape. Kofi's only remaining family was his elderly grandmother, Nana Efua. She took him in, raising him in her small hut on the edge of the village. Nana Efua was frail but hardworking, doing everything she could to provide for her grandson. Yet, they lived in a dire poverty, with every day a struggle for food and shelter. The villagers often mocked Kofi, calling him the poor orphan, reminding him of his misfortune and their disdain. Despite the love from Nana Efua, Kofi grew up feeling the weight of poverty. He was tired of the hunger, the mocking, and the hopelessness. He vowed to change his fate, whatever it took. One day, while Kofi was gathering firewood at the village's edge, a sleek, shining car rolled into the dusty path. A young man dressed in an expensive suit stepped out. It was Kwame, Kofi's old friend, who had left the village years ago. Kwame's transformation was striking. He looked every bit the wealthy city man. Kofi, Kwame called out with a bright smile, spreading his arms wide. Kofi was stunned. They embraced, sharing stories about their lives. Kwame spoke with pride about his business successes and newfound wealth, luxurious cars, city mansions, fine clothes. "How did you make it?" Kofi asked, his eyes filled with both admiration and envy. Kwame's smile faded slightly, and his voice grew serious. "There is a way, Kofi, but it's not for the faint of heart. If you want to be like me, you have to be willing to do whatever it takes." Desperation filled Kofi's heart. "I will do anything," he said firmly. "I can't continue living like this." Kwame's eyes glinted darkly. "Meet me tonight. I will show you the path." That night, Kwame led Kofi deep into the forest. They walked in silence for hours until they reached a secluded clearing, hidden from the world. There stood an eerie shrine, built from old bones and withered stones. Its entrance guarded by skulls and burning torches that cast long, sinister shadows. Inside the shrine, an ancient priest sat cross-legged, draped in a tattered robe. His eyes were cold and calculating as he looked at Kofi. The shrine's walls were covered with dark symbols and carvings, and the air was thick with the smell of incense and something rotten. Kwame approached the priest and whispered something in his ear. The priest nodded, then turned his gaze to Kofi. "You seek wealth?" Priest asked, his voice deep and gravely. "Yes," Kofi replied, his voice trembling. The priest smiled, a slow, predatory grin. To gain, you must lose. The spirits demand a worthy sacrifice. Someone dear to you, bring your grandmother, and untold riches will be yours. Kofi's heart pounded. My grandmother? She raised me. She's all I have. Kwame leaned close. I did it, Kofi. I made the sacrifice. And look where I am now. Do you want to be poor forever? Torn between his love for Nana Efua and his desperation to escape poverty, Kofi hesitated but finally agreed. Over the next few days, Kofi was haunted by his choice. Nana Efua noticed his troubled demeanor. My son, what burdens your heart? She asked one evening. Kofi forced a smile. Nothing, Nana, I'm just tired. That night, he laid awake, plagued by his inner conflict. I must do this, he whispered to himself, for us. The following evening, Kofi lured Nana Efua, his grandmother, to the shrine, telling her he had found a place that might change their lives for the better. Trusting her grandson, she followed him. As they reached the shrine, Nana Efua sensed the evil that lurked there. Kofi, what is this place? She asked, her voice trembling. Before she could react further, the priest began chanting, and Kwame and two other men grabbed her. Kofi, shaken and drenched in sweat, was handed a knife by the priest. Tears streamed down his face as he did the unthinkable. As Nana Efua's lifeless body lay on the shrine floor, a strange wind swept through, extinguishing the torches. A chilling silence followed, broken only by Kofi's sobs. Suddenly, he heard a whisper, his grandmother's voice, distorted and haunting. Kofi, why? Kofi, why? He looked around in panic, but no one else seemed to hear it. Shadows on the walls began to move and morph into terrifying shapes. His mind snapped. He screamed, running out of the shrine and into the dark forest. Days later, Kofi returned to the village, his hair wide, his clothes tattered, and his eyes vacant and mad. He mumbled incoherently about shadows and voices, pointing to invisible figures only he could see. The villagers, seeing his madness, shunned him further. But Kwame, on the other hand, grew even richer. His businesses expanded and his influence grew. He flaunted his wealth, building new houses, buying more cars, and wearing the finest clothes. The villagers, unaware of the terrible truth, admired Kwame's prosperity. But the spirits were not done. Kwame's wealth, gained through another sacrifice, carried a curse. Unseen forces began to work against him. One day, a traveling priest arrived in the village. He was known for his wisdom and the power to see beyond veil of reality. He watched Kwame closely, sensing the dark energy that clutched to him. He sought out the mad Kofi, who was wandering near the village well, mumbling and pointing at invisible entities. Kofi, the priest said gently, I know you have been touched by darkness. Show me the way to where it happened. With a maze of fear and brokenness, Kofi led the priest to the hidden shrine in the forest. There, the traveling priest discovered the signs of a sacrificial ritual and the faint traces of Nana Efua's spirit. He returned to the village and gathered the elders. A great evil has been committed, he declared. Kwame's wealth is stained with innocent blood. The villagers were shocked and demanded answers. Kwame, cornered, tried to lie, but the priest exposed every detail of the horrific ritual. The villagers turned against Kwame, filled with rage and disgust. Kwame was seized by the villagers and brought before the elders. His once proud face was now twisted in fear. He was prosecuted for his crimes, not only for the murder of Nana Efua, but for exploiting Kofi's desperation. You sought wealth through suffering of others, the chief elder said sternly. Now you will face the consequences. Kwame's prosperities were seized, and he was stripped of his ill-gotten wealth. He was sentenced to a life of hard labor to atone for the lives he had destroyed. Kofi, meanwhile, was given care by the villagers, who now saw the depth of his suffering. As Kwame toiled, he watched as his riches were distributed among the poor in the village. His once grand mansion was turned into a community center, a symbol of repentance and retribution. Kofi, still haunted but slowly recovering, would often sit by the village well, speaking softly to his grandmother's spirit. The villagers no longer mocked him. Instead, they cared for him, understanding that greed had torn apart their lives. The shrine in the forest fell into disrepair, overtaken by nature, a silent reminder of the dark of price of greed. And the tale of Kofi and Kwame became a lesson passed down through generations, a story that warned of the terrible cost of desperation and the inevitable justice that comes for those who take innocent lives for their gain. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. What do you think about Kofi and his roles? Tell us in the comment section. Kindly support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our YouTube channel at Chukwudi Alolo. Thank you once again.